still been mostly thinking about derivative works of art. It's been dominant on my mind for the last maybe a few weeks. I actually can't tell how long it's been. I've been thinking about derivative works. Whatever, I've been thinking about different ways of explaining what I like about them, and while explaining them to myself, I'm learning more about what I like about them, kind of expounding upon it. It's been interesting to me. I see a derivative work as a form of artistic analysis, just highlighting what the original work, whatever was beautiful about it, highlighting that and expanding and elaborating on it. It's kind of the main thing. I've been learning of this conception of beauty. Learning isn't really the right word. I've been hearing about a conception of beauty, and then I've been uh, creating my own based on what I've heard somewhat. Anyway, I've been listening to David Deutsch talk about some things about art and beauty. He mostly talks about epistemology, which I'm much less interested in, but he talks mostly about that and somewhat about art. But a lot of what he talks about, they're very analogous. So I've been learning about David Deutsch's epistemology or Popperian epistemology. If you go back to the original, Karl Popper. Anyway, the main aspect of it is that the way that I'm going to be presenting it, the way that is presented in my own mind, is that we have beauty, which is an experience that involves some sort of sensory activity and appreciation, which is some sort of causal, I'm just going to say activity again because I don't have another word for it. And that can be broken down into many parts or into different categories. So the simplest category would be attention, paying attention to something, giving more attention to something. You you like something, you find it beautiful. One way of that expressing is that you're paying attention to it. Another way of that expressing would be the creation of a derivative work. And that derivative could be just in terms of memory, it could just be encoded in memory. You just remember it, one form of derivative work. But of course, there are others, being actual work of art that is produced and set free into the world. So we have this simple conception of there's some forms of beauty which spark other works of art, which could, of course, spark more works of art, depending on the type of beauty it induces. It creates this causal pattern of either somebody attending to it, somebody remembering it, somebody creating a derivative work of art. And you could, at least theoretically, have a work of art that sparks an infinite chain of more works of art. You have a work of art that somehow inspires, it's configured in such a way that when it is it, when it is introduced to a human or a creative being, that it makes more art. It starts this chain of creation. thought that was cool. I like to hear these categories and expound upon them. The cave and so on. What is the cave? What's up, Kimbo? How you doing, man? So all of these, well, that's just a basic conception of one form of beauty would be this sort of appreciation that causes attention or causes derivative works, which I find that I like a lot. And it made me this conception has come very this conception that I've had came around the same time I've been watching, or I started watching this anime called Pluto, which I liked very much, but I was also very frustrated by. But I can't, I'm just thinking about it so much. It was so good. There's so many good things about it. And to me, what was interesting about it, because there seemed like there were so many things that were not, that there were things that were introduced but then not fleshed out. And it made me want to write about it. So I've been writing about it since I first saw it. And since then, I've been now having this new conception of art and it spawning derivatives. And of course, just me writing about it is a derivative. But what I've been writing specifically is about how to continuously flesh out parts of it that were not fleshed out. I'm essentially just making hypothetical derivative works, meaning that this work of art, Pluto, was configured in such a way that, to me, it it invites derivatives. It creates all these different mechanics that seem like they could be fleshed out into full TV shows or to full movies or some other narrative work, and they just introduce them and then gloss over it and then keep going. And it's a really short series, the 8 episode series, but there are probably more than 8 ideas that could be entire series on itself. Plato's Cave. Yeah. One of the fun ideas in Pluto, there's a there's a robot girl, and she is all the robots presumably don't feel emotion, but some of them can, kind of, sort of. What's important is she is some sort of empath. That's the kind of archetype that she has, where instead of feeling emotions, when she would feel emotion, she feels that other people are feeling the emotion. Humans, usually, sometimes robots. Uh, and there is a part in the series where she should be sad and seems to be sad, but the way that her sadness is really expressed is that she starts to feel that other people are sad around her city, and she runs to save these sad people from being sad. Like she just goes and solves their problems, and it's the most ridiculous, and it's very cute and sweet, and it's it's really like 5 minutes of the show, but the premise of it was very interesting and cool to me, and has a lot of room to be fleshed out. It's cool because Pluto is itself a derivative work of Astro Boy, and Astro Boy is pretty much the first anime ever, the first modern anime, I guess, the first anime in the style that is recognizably anime, or I should say manga, the first manga in the style that is recognizably manga. It's the work of art that spawned the entire genre has been a derivative of that, and it is ripe for more derivatives. So presumably somebody can make a work of art that is specifically made to spark derivatives, and specifically made to spark derivatives that spark more derivatives. This is one thing that I really like about the future technology, hopefully, of AI music. Specifically music, I just like music. I think we will get to a point where we can use a song as what would be considered a prompt, a song as a starting point for further, an easy way to make a derivative work of art with a particular song. Perhaps you can use multiple songs. I'm sure that'll be the case at some point too. But then we can start to see a song as a world, any particular work of art. It doesn't have to be just a song, but I'm going to be talking about music because I like music. You can see a song as a world, in the same way that we see, well, that I see, like if I see a sheet music for jazz, it's it's not a single work of art, right? It's not a single song. It's this it's this space for people to improvise, and there's going to be many different recordings and many different groups playing it in different ways. That's jazz sheet music. But now, if we expand that concept or apply it to any work of art or any particular song, I could just give a recording and then make derivatives of that recording. I like this. I like this very much. Outside of that, I just like AI music. Maybe I just like music. Yeah, I just like music, I guess. I don't know. And I've also been enjoying the AI music that I can make myself. I guess I don't like a lot of other people's AI music. I just like my own music. That might be it. That just might be it. I want to play a song that I like. So good. It's so good. Wow. Wow. Amazing. That's so cool. Nothing really to say about that. I don't think it was incredibly related to what I was talking about, but I just like AI music. But really, I just like music and I like a specific type of music, and I wish to hear more of that type of music that I like, but there's not enough of it because the genre died in the 60s and I want to hear more of it. And now I have a little machine. I can turn the dial and make more of that music. Now it's not that simple. Unfortunately, at the moment, it's not that simple. It might be more simple in the future. I'm sure it'd be more easy to in the future to make something similar to what I just played, and then we'll find more things that I would want to make in the future. It had more and more refinement in what I would want to hear. But I thought that was very good. And it's got a ridiculous prompt. Jesus. It's so long. I'm not gonna share. I'm not gonna show the prompt. Could I? Yeah, I don't have a way of showing it. That's the prompt. Can you see that? Flute, piano. I'm not gonna read this whole thing. Flute, piano, string ensemble, folk, jazz, easy listening, orchestral, film music, pirate, detective, mystery, jazz, instrumental, bossa nova, regional music, love, warm, South American music, melancholic, mellow, exotica, surf, Tibetan, Tuvan folk, Tanz orchestra. I don't know how to say that. Dance orchestra. This is German. New trova, Chilean music, Catalan music, 70s Soviet twist, chacarera, folklore. Anyway, just the name of a bunch of genres that I like, and some random other things. Love, exciting, demonic, scherzo, insane, psychotic. Unfortunately, that the way that these current AI music models work, at least the ones that are public, I could pretty much just give it text. That's all the input that I can give it. So I've got to be a little bit creative with the text. Oh, and I missed some of the earlier parts of it. Hold on here. The beginning of the prompt: Shibuya K, Soviet jazz, Peruvian mambo, Ima Sumac. This is a Peruvian mambo singer. Lyrical piano solo, Philharmonic Orchestra, Huayno. Huayno. I don't know how to say that. Huayno. Huayno. It's like a Peruvian. I don't know what to call it. It's like surf rock, but Peruvian. It's really cool. Anyway, enough about the prompt. It's a ridiculously long prompt and weirdly conceived prompt, but it works. There's a song that I want to hear. So I wrote a poem. Oh, have I talked about the poem that I wrote? I don't think I did. I'm gonna read a poem. I used GPT-01 to write a poem. I've used it to write many poems, but I've been using it in different ways. So I learned recently, well, I tested recently GPT, different forms of GPT, to write poetry. And I think they all suck, except I can get fairly good results with GPT-01 Pro. But it's based on my own weird, idiosyncratic uh, preferences and poems. And even still, even the ones that I think are good are not great. They're just okay. I'm gonna read one, then I'm gonna explain the prompt. I guess I could just show it again. I'll just show it. Uh, yeah, does it matter? You can see all my screen. Yeah, who cares? All right. This is the poem. It's called Morning Memories. Morning slides in, soft gold slicing the hush. I watch these quiet beams slip between each slat, like whispers of boundless wonder. My breath quivers with the thought. Nothing can contain what longs to illuminate. I feel the glow of morning press against my mind. Glittering radiance flows. I still can feel the light unchained between our thoughts, rippling eternal hope. My chest expands to welcome shards of timeless grace, blooming in genuine touch. I contemplate how growth unfolds in silent joy, soaring with unspoken strength, soaring with unspoken strength. Sometimes I still remember the thrill of shared silence, how it poured so freely, slipping past every guarded place. In that bright surge, I saw no end to what could flourish. I stand in silence, watch the dust dance freely here, whispering vastness conveys. I still can feel the light unbound beyond all time, drumming in sudden returns. Unseen, the flame we shared remains despite these years, shimmering sweetness reborn. My hand adapts. Read that wrong. My hands adapt to welcome endless breath of hope, growing beyond all restraint. Growing beyond all restraint. No shade is final, no boundary absolute. What surges inside cannot be locked out. Just as outward radiance finds a path in, I yield to its unspoken invitation. Shimmering memories call. Shimmering memories call. All right, that's the poem. Poem I wrote using 01. And, oh, I could just give you the prompt. It's right here. Is this the right prompt? I'm going to make sure I'm reading the right prompt and it doesn't have any information that I don't want. Yep. That is the right prompt. All right, so this is the prompt that I used. Okay. I used it, I said it also with this kind of, it's all of this is the prompt. I want you to write a poem with these specifications that first, it does not rhyme. I don't like rhyming, so I made the poem not rhyme. It has a complex meter of alternating lines of 6 iambs followed by 2 dactyls with an additional stressed syllable to finish in the second line. 2 stanzas with 8 lines each. The last line is repeated, so now instead of 8 lines, it's 9 lines. The third line of each stanza has the same first 6 syllables, has a surprising twist in the last 4 lines, It is on the subject below, contained in the triple backticks. That is this subject, which is just a document of me writing about aesthetics, which is now incomplete because I've been writing a different, or I've been continuing that document. So it's about that. Do not mention any of the names in the attached document. So I'm talking about Kandinsky, Vasily Kandinsky, David Deutsch, the Lydian chromatic concept, aesthetic art principles and such. But I didn't want it to talk about, I don't want a poem that says Kandinsky or Deutsch or David. Lydian chromatic, I don't want to hear a poem that talks about the Lydian chromatic concept. In addition to the typical poem structure, I want you to add to the beginning and the end and the middle a poetic free-form element where it's more conversational. The free-form parts can be as long or short as necessary, but be consistent. And use assonances in the free-form part where possible. I actually changed that one. So this is an old version, but I made it so that the free-form parts get shorter. Starts with 5 lines, then goes to 4, then goes to 3. Use assonances in the free-form part. There are some assonances. And then the whole poem should be personal and frame it around a single situation. Seeing rays of a sun come through blinds, feeling beauty cannot be contained by anything, similar to how sunlight cannot be blocked by blinds. And further. And then in the poem with the final freeform section, after the freeform section, with a single repeated line of 2 dactyls with an additional stressed syllable. That's also missing something else here. And then try really hard to get the exact syllable structure. That's the kind of poem I like. Anyway, it's not a great poem, but it's a good poem. It's got some of the markers of a AI poem. Most obvious to me is it uses hush. I don't know why AI likes to talk about the hush so often, but it's something that a lot of AI poems talk about. In the hush, for example, in the hush of the night, or something like that. So I bring all of that up in order to listen to a particular song, which is based off of that poem.
I feel the glow of morning press against my mind, glittering radiance flows. I still can feel the light unchained between our thoughts, ripple eternal hope. My chest expands to welcome shards of timeless grace, blooming in January touch. I contemplate how growth unfolds in silent joy, soaring with unspoken strength, soaring with unspoken strength. I gently silence what taste there still is a whispering, some deeds. I still can feel the light unbound beyond all time, throbbing in sudden returns. Unseen the flame we share remains despite these years, shivering sweetness reborn. My hands are there to welcome that caged strength of hope, growing early on the growing spring, growing
Wow. Very happy with it. I don't like the ending, but I'm very happy with it. Needs a little bit of editing, but I'm very happy with it. I like it. I like it a lot. I really like the structure of the IMs and the dectals and how they work together. Create that offset metric pattern. I've been trying to write another poem with GPT, but I'm having much more trouble with this one. Not it's doing it fine. It's just not turning out well. I want essentially I want multiple stanzas, and for each line in each stanza, I want the first word to be an assonance with every other. I don't know how to describe this well. It was very long-winded when I described it to GPT, but I'll just describe it in the long-winded way. The first line of the first stanza, I want the beginning to have an assonance with the first line of the second stanza. First word, first line of the second stanza. And also I want the last word of the first line of the first stanza to rhyme with the last word of the first line of the second stanza. And that pattern to continue with all the lines in all the stanzas. I don't know if that made more sense that I said it with more words, but that's what I want. And it seems like it's simple to me, just because I can describe it in words. A complex sentence, I guess, but a simple sentence, a sentence no less. I could describe what I want. But every time it comes out, it's just the poem doesn't turn out very well. think I started mentioning about using different GPTs. Did I mention that? I started mentioning, but I didn't finish. So GPT-01 Pro is the only one that can make that can follow the prompt that I just shared about 8 lines turning into 9 and dactyls and iams and whatever, alternating lines and free form parts. If I give that to GPT 4.0, it doesn't work. It doesn't work well. It doesn't work at all. Freeform parts. There's like a lot of rhyme. For some reason, 4.0 makes everything rhyme. It doesn't know how to make a poem that doesn't rhyme. Which I guess makes sense. The training data's probably got all poems that rhyme, or mostly. It has no control over iams or dactyls or any sort of rhythmic consistency. I love this music. It's so good. The same with GPT-01, regular O1. It fails, but it seems to know that it fails. Every time it fails, it says, I approximated your rhythmic structure. It's difficult to get this rhythmic structure in English. That's what it says. That's what it tells me. Boom, 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 boom. And then it doesn't give me the right rhythmic structure. Oh, it can do Jane recipes. That's awesome. I love that Jane recipes is your benchmark. Poetry is my benchmark. That's ridiculous. It's so bizarre. There's just weird things that it just doesn't. Some of them are not good at. Another benchmark I have for for another benchmark I had was reverse engineering water recipes. So uh, a if I gave it the mineral content of a particular water and the compounds that I have, I actually don't know the right chemistry way of saying this, but if a water has a certain amount of magnesium and a certain amount of calcium and a certain amount of whatever, and then I tell GPT that I have water, pure water, and I have magnesium sulfate, and I have calcium carbonate and sodium bicarbonate. How much of each of those things do I need to mix to make the water? It's actually pretty difficult to do. I guess it's not that difficult. I just don't know chemistry, so I don't know how to do balancing my chemistry equations to make that simple for myself. So I want AI to do it. But none of the earlier versions could do it, but GPT-o1 Pro can do it very well. Enough of the music. Got one last thing I want to talk about. So I've been, as I said, absorbing some of the work of David Deutsch and converting it into my own understanding and creating a new framework of thinking about art. But one of the things that David Deutsch talks about, which I have been interested in, but not convinced by, and also barely understanding, was this: he has a notion of some sort of objective standards in beauty. Could be with art also. But I've been trying to formulate the way that he conceptualizes it. I don't know how I'm saying this. I've been trying to represent his ideas so that I could understand it myself. And I'm going to present his idea now in a way that I've converted it, translated it. I haven't. So part of the difficulty is he talks mostly about epistemology. Like I said, talks about epistemology, and then at some point he talks about epistemology, and then he switches over and talks about aesthetics and beauty and such. I'm mostly interested in the beauty stuff, so I just jumped in with the beauty stuff. But he's referencing a lot of things that he's talking about with the epistemology, and I don't have a lot of a background with the way that he's formalizing epistemology and the way that he's formulating it. So I'm missing a lot of context, which makes it difficult for me to understand. So I'm going to be reading his book so that I can understand his epistemology, just so that I can understand the framework with which he formulates beauty. In any case, I'm going to read something that I wrote. It's about flowers. Flowers are attractive across species. meaning that many species of plant communicate with many species of insect to cause attraction. Insects attracted to the flowers. This is odd because there are no plants that share a recent common ancestor with an insect, so there is no reliance on shared genes that would easily signal attraction, nor do the plants rely on any form of insect mimicry. So there is a communication from plant to insect, not relying on any shared genes, not relying on mimicry. The flowers don't look like bugs. The flowers also don't smell like bugs. This communication from plant to insect is also noticed by birds and is importantly also attractive to humans, which demonstrates something very basic here and simple. And there are some things that are attractive beyond personal feelings and attractive beyond species preference. There's an attraction. It's not limited to species. There's attraction that is not limited to species and not based on any shared genes. Right? Because you could just have like a dying, you could have like rotting food, which is attractive to many species, of course. But it's all because they all want to eat the food and whatever. It makes a bit more sense of how that attraction is working there. But the attraction of flowers is a bit more odd. It's not mimicking dying flesh. Yeah. Anyway, notice that this is uncommon. A hot, young, fertile alligator is not attractive to humans, nor is it attractive to insects, nor is it attractive to anything other than male alligators. And the same is for nearly all evolved attractions. Most all attractions are evolved for communication within a species, right? If you have something that is attracting something else, it's usually within the species. So, based on that, all of this is just information, just laying out the facts here. We can distinguish that there is some attraction that's personal, which I didn't talk about, but you know what personal attraction is. You're attracted to things. You have whatever, your own personal attraction. You have attraction that is species specific, attraction that only applies to a species, and then you have attraction that transcends species. And so the question that I'm asking at the end of all of this is, would an attraction that reliably transcends species, with that type of attraction, indicate objective standards for beauty? That's one question. And then an opposite question. Would objective beauty standards, if there were objective beauty standards, would they have this quality of trans-species attraction? Of course, and David Deutsch is presenting all of this as he's presenting it. How is he presenting it? He is suggesting that objective beauty, flowers being objectively beautiful, is an explanation for why humans and insects and birds are attracted to flowers. And he goes into more detail about humans being attracted to flowers. Most humans are attracted to most flowers in most cultures without any cultural context, which rings as true, is pretty interesting. Flowers are pretty universally viewed as beautiful. And it doesn't matter what species of flower, many species of flower, and then many species of insects are attracted to flowers, and then many species of birds are attracted to flowers. He also goes on to say that with this is the explanation of why, again, the explanation of why flowers are attractive to multiple species being that flowers are objectively beautiful, and that comes with a bit of a weird prediction, because if he's suggesting that there is objective beauty, then he would predict that a human or a human-like species or human-like being, anybody who has this ability to view objective standards of beauty and be creative, would begin to create works of art that are aligned with objective standards of beauty. And because they are objective standards of beauty, you can never directly get to them. You can never like fully get to them. So that means that you can always continuously improve any work of art, or art generally speaking, can always become more beautiful, meaning that you can just have artistic progress. In the same way, for example, just to kind of clarify this, you can take a picture of the external world and you can always have more detail with the picture. You can always get closer to what the external world actually looks like. You're never getting perfect resolution, you can always get more resolution. So that's a simple analogy, is saying that the external world is the objective. The picture is a representation of it. You can always get closer and closer and closer, but it's never going to be exact. You can have objective beauty standards, and you can have a work of art that is close to it, and you can always get closer and closer and closer and get more and more detail. Detail isn't the right word, but you can get closer to it. Closer, it's an analogy, whatever, you get it. So any human or any society that has creativity would improve their art infinitely. In the same way, we have progress in science and knowledge. So one of the ways that we could identify if we come into contact with a AGI, for example, we have a artificial general intelligence, which would be the same as a human in terms of creativity, of course, with much faster processing power and more memory, but fundamentally the same. It would be beautiful. It would create beautiful works of art, or it would be beautiful itself. The same with if we were to ever encounter any sort of intelligent or creative, rather creative species, alien species, it would be beautiful. Those are the implications of this. You know, if the explanation for why flowers are attractive to multiple species, if it is a accurate explanation, then those predictions would follow. So anyway, I like the idea of having art being able to be continuously improved, and the world of art being able to be all of artistic culture and the tradition of art through humanity of all humans can be improved. Though I would never have thought of it as being improved in sort of in an objective sense or having objective standards. I also just don't like. I don't. I think the word objective means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, and I don't have a particular tradition which has an understanding of the word objective that I follow. So that just makes me not like the word. I don't know what it means directly. Again, I haven't read all of his full understanding of epistemology, so I don't know what he means by objective, if he applies it to objective truth or objective knowledge and other forms of objectivity. More for me to learn and understand. I know some of it though. This is why I think I did mention earlier about some parts of beauty being experience with appreciation. This is my own formulation of it, beauty being experience and appreciation. And then um, one of your favorite short stories is Aesma and the Master of Aesthetics. Never heard of it. So I my own conception of, oh, we've talked about this, have we? Maybe I have heard of it. Yeah. I feel like I've clicked these links before. I'm sure we've talked about this before. Um, the conception of beauty being sensory information and appreciation, and the appreciation that would be my initial conception. That's how I think about it. That's how I thought about it for a while. Um, Mostly just being the appreciation being the most important aspect of it, because you could have appreciation without sensory information, but that's not common, so not relevant. I believe David Deutsch's conception of objective knowledge is information and causal activity, with the causal activity just meaning that you're either paying attention to it or you're also making things happen in the world. It's causing some sort of interaction in the world. You have information that does something in the world. And to the extent that the information is resilient or persistent, it is objective. It's objective because it's encoded in objects and it persists. That's what he means by objective, I believe. So a work of art that would be objectively beautiful would be a work of art that has this causal form of appreciation, which is either you, a person attending to it, paying attention to it, in such a way that they make it persist, like they keep it presentable. Is that how I want to say it? They make it in such a way that they make it available to be continuously be seen. And then I've added to that making derivative works for myself. Anyway, there's more for me to learn about it and chew on and create myself. Eventually, I'll have some way of presenting that all in slightly more tight knit, so that it's a bit more clear for myself and for others, and perhaps it can have some causal energy, make me make art in different ways. All right, so Aesma and the Three Masters is a web comic. Is that right? 4-part story. Kill 6 billion demons. That's the webcomic. Where do I find this webcomic? Yeah, this is not stream safe, I'm seeing. Looks pretty cool though. Short stories in a webcomic. I got you. All right, y'all. It is my time to begin ending the stream and start working. I'm going to be working in a bit. So, glad you're here. It's nice to talk about music and art. Again, there's just a lot of things I'm thinking about in terms of art and aesthetics. So I'm writing a lot of things down. I don't know why. I'd like to write things down. I made a website recently for some reason, just presenting my ideas. I want to learn how to present a lot of my ideas a more clean way. And that has that has created a chain of me making more ideas and not presenting them in clean ways. I've just been making more ideas, and it's been fun. It's been fun. It's been a good few months. I've deliberately did this. I wanted to at some point work on communication and also another thing of configuring my mind in order to be more receptive and open to different ideas and my own ideas if they were to arise. And it has worked exceedingly well. Now I just have so many ideas and I don't know how to communicate them well. And so I'm practicing, I'm learning how to do that anyway. That will be pending, coming soon. So I hope you're along for the ride. Y'all take care. See ya.